Yo, what's up, guys? So, if you haven't seen, this is the release schedule for next year. And if you haven't noticed, most of these sets just haven't existed in the world before. Like, I get spreading out the story, but it really feels like they're just kind of scrapping what's already there. So, I'm just gonna give you, I have some notes on where I would take the story, like upcoming sets. Um, First off, Omen paths are an interesting idea that they can just connect to planes. So here's what I'm thinking. The Ixalan seas and Kaldheim seas, an Omen path just spreads for 5,000 miles. Alright? And when it spreads, ships are passing through. So you got Kaldheim Vikings and pirates passing together, and they're weirded out. So they're trying to plunder each other and fighting, and it's just like an introduction to what the Omen paths are and what kind of chaos they can cause. I think this would also be a good time to introduce vehicle equipments, because currently, as it works, once your vehicle is no longer a creature, any equipments fall off. I feel like this would be a good opportunity. You can make cannons for ships, or you put a rudder on not like a rudder, but like a sail or something, and it gives it haste and trample or something because it's going faster, whatever. Okay, so that's how we're gonna introduce the Omen paths. Really, moving on, Talarian Academy goes through an Omen path and just pops up right next to Strixhaven, leads to Wizard School face off, and Quentin, who is the red white lore hold, he's an elephant. He was one of the students. He turns out to be a planeswalker in March of the Machines. He just never got a card. So we're gonna build on that, see his friends, and see what kind of shenanigans go on between the two. Then move on to Lorwyn and Innistrad. They cross. The Reaper King shows up, starts a Scarecrow uprising that kind of unites everybody in Innistrad. Because vampires can't really do anything because they can't suck the blood of scarecrows. I mean, people have swords and whatever, but it really keeps everybody together. And then Emrakul is gonna move over to Lorwyn. We're gonna see it happen now, but it's not gonna come into play until later. Next set, Nuka Penna and Ravnica. The Sky Rises of Nuka Penna just start replacing certain buildings in Ravnica, and the crime bosses of Nuka Penna try and take over. Of course, because Dimir is supposed to fight against the Guild Pact, uh, they're supposed to all shut up. They're gonna side with the bosses. It's gonna be a whole thing, and then at the end, a new Guild Pact is gonna be soft. But there's government corruption and whatever. Following up, we got a Kaladesh and Kamigawa cross. So they show up right as the Inventors Fair is about to show up. And Kamigawa's like, wow, that's really cool. So they hold this whole joint Inventors Fair. We're going to continue with vehicle equipments. You have the mechs in Kamigawa. They have big walking, crewable, kind of mechy things in Kaladesh as well. So this is how we're going to suit up the mechs. You give them a sword. You give them armor or something. Just something cool so you can build your own little Voltron thing. And then eventually some experiment's gonna go wrong in the Kamigawa section of it, and some big monster is just gonna show up. But they're gonna work together to build a Mech Titan Part 2, who's just gonna be the defender. I just think that'd be a cool set. We have the pop culture references coming in Ikoria. Godzilla's on cards, so it's not really that far fetched to have some big kaiju monster show up in Kamigawa. Following that up, Theros and Kaldheim. So a gateway opens, and just a flash of light hits both planes, and people are just overcome with anger. Alright, they fight it out, but it turns out Heliod, even though they said at the end of March of the Machines that as soon as Elesh Norn was defeated, all the oil disappeared. No, Heliod's still a Phyrexian. He's not really spreading it. He's just kind of misshapen and misformed, but he's trying to take back power. So the planes are gonna have to combine themselves to take on Heliod and, recreate order. The next one, a little crazy. So Takar and Strixhaven and Dominaria are all going to be combined. There's going to be a dragon war between the Elder Dragons and the Dragon Lords, because there's like the Elder Dragon teachers at Strixhaven. Dominaria has, that's like where Nicol Bolas and all of his brothers and sisters were born, and Takir has like the Dragon Lords. So they're all going to be battling across the skylines. There's going to be team ups. I think at the end of it, there's going to be some sort of event, like one of Nicol Bolas' siblings going to be killed, and it's going to like wake him up from the meditation realm, because people are always saying they want Bolas back. I personally don't think it would happen, but I think this would be the way to do it. I want to see planes crossing to get creative sets. Following up, Ikoria and Zendikar start to just fully merge as planes. The elves in Zendikar are kind of racist from what I understand. However, with the threat of big monsters from Ikoria, they're going to have to work with humans. I think this would be a good time to get, kind of like how Ruka changes creature types so that different tribes can work together. We could have cards that work for both elves and humans. Maybe give them the ally type so that they work together better, and just see what happens. So, following that up, we have one of those multiplayer sets, like a Battle Bond, which they're set in Kylim. So it's going to bring back Planeswalkers, like Contest of Champions, Marvel thing, like that sort of style. So Garruk's going to come back out of nowhere, because fighting in Arena kind of seems like his sort of thing, survival of the strongest. Tyvar's going to show up for fun. We're going to find out Dack Fayden didn't die. Because let's be real here, Dack Fayden needed more cards before he died. And then he just died. But if you look at Dack Fayden cards, you have Dack's Duplicate. It's one of the only Dack Fayden cards, and he's able to make a duplicate, I'm assuming of himself as well, instead of just Crank, or whoever that is. So he actually just had a duplicate, and he's been alive this whole time, and just kind of like ducking out of it. And then old legends like Borborygmos, Sir Gwen, Yidris, Memnarch is going to come back as like some sort of trophy that somebody's rebuilt, and they're going to be using it to fight. Gonti's going to come back, and as fighters, we're going to expand on Jumpstart legends like Runati, Ashcoat, Kibo, and Tiny Bones. I think we give Tiny Bones some sort of magical weapon so that it can compete better. But it just comes out as, a big fight set. Have it built for like Two-Headed Giant or something. Give it something fun. I think Vivian should come back in this set since she really hasn't done anything in a while. And then I think Vivian needs a card that searches out different creatures with specific names, because part of her whole thing is she has an arc bow where she has the spirit of different creatures, and sure, she has ones like a card where she searches for creatures straight up, but I feel like it would be better if there were certain like spirit animals she could search up. I just think that would be cool. And then I think we get a new Ramos, illustrated by David Martin. If you don't know, Ramos is Ramos Dragon Engine. He was on a plane for a while. I think he got deactivated, but before he was a card in Magic 2017, he was a bunch of mana rocks. So the guy who did the mana rocks is David Martin. I'd like to have the guy who did the mana rocks do a version of the actual creature. I think that'd be interesting. Following that up, we go to Eldraine. There's a bunch of legendary creatures and planeswalkers that accidentally wandered through Omen Paths, and they partake in fairy tales that are like opposites of their character. You got Garruk as like Little Red Riding Hood, and he's just like slaughtering everything in his way. Uro is like living up in a castle in the clouds. Somebody's gonna try and slay him. Magda unionizes the Seven Dwarves. I just think that'd be a funny side plot. And then, Oko and Tybalt are both big on chaos, so they'll have like their little bromance. Um, Following it up, we'll get a new unset that shows a multiverse where different types and creatures were swapped, and there's alternate events. Like the invaders are slivers instead of Phyrexians, so they're going to be trying to take over and colonizing and whatever. Elish Norn is imprisoned in the moon instead of Emrakul, which is going to lead to space Phyrexians, which just sounds funny. Mishra is going to side with the Eldrazi in March of the Machines, and he's going to bond with a 1/1 Scion token, because that would be funny. We'll make Strixhaven just like an absolute Harry Potter reference. I'm not really a big Harry Potter fan, but I think it would be really funny to have like a He Who Shall Not Be Named card. In Ikoria, all the people are mutants, and the monsters have to protect themselves from people. Nicol Bolas and Ugin get along and just become a two-sided planeswalker for fun. And then it's also going to flash forward to the Infinity Amusement Park, and it's run down, but it's like a cross section of Omen paths. And then we'll get some like spooky cards like run down the clown robots and something crazy. And then the last set I thought of is Lorwyn. Um, Lorwyn's whole thing is every so many years it was supposed to switch over to Shadowmoor, where everything's opposite. And like I said earlier, during the Scarecrow invasion, Emrakul's going to move to Lorwyn. So here, Emrakul tries to bring back the cycle and change it back to Shadowmoor. And this is also where the new Gatewatch sets in. So Chandra's going to learn to planeswalk with Nissa to bring those two back. Quentin is going to be an official member. We talked about him earlier. He's an Elevant, just became a planeswalker. Kaito and the Emperor are going to be part of it since they're both good fighters, and I could just see it happening. Garruk is going to come off of Kylem, stop his arena fighting for a while and take on Emrakul. Teo and Nico are also going to show up. And then Kaya. Kaya's really not going to do too much because I don't think Eldrazi can be ghosts. But it would just be cool to see like a new Gatewatch form because we lost a lot of the members. Maybe possibly they recruit Nahiri to join because we know she. Well, it's kind of complicated with the Eldrazi because she kind of released them onto Innistrad, but maybe she would finally go full circle in her arc and help imprison them. I just think that would be an interesting take on the story. And it also leaves open, where did Nicol Bolas go? And that'll probably be the next story step, rounding him up one last time. So that's about where I would be at. Because to be very honest with you, I'm excited for the Fallout set because I'm a Fallout fan. The remastered sets have kind of been hit or miss. Modern Horizons 3 could be cool. And I really don't know how I feel about the rest of these. Like, they could be cool. However, I like the Magic story. I like seeing how the planes evolve. I like the characters that we've already set up. So getting, 4 sets in 1 year that are completely new characters, and it's not even like Dungeons and Dragons sets, where it's like some sort of reference. I could get maybe introducing like, Bloomburrow and Karlov Mansion are like 2 new sets with 2 new planes, and we're gonna like learn about them. But it just feels kind of crazy going from a story, and we're still gonna have parts of that story reprinted in Ravnica and possibly Modern Horizons 3, but just dropping the rest of it. So that's just my opinion. That's how I would put the story, but that's just me. I hopefully this goes well. Hopefully they know what they're doing because they really dropped the ball on March of the Machines. Yeah, that's about it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. What kind of story would you like to see? Is there a plane you want to see brought back? Any important characters? Let me know.